What's up? What's going on, TheCoreofU fam? We hope everybody is doing well today on this February 12th, 2021. Welcome to another episode of TheCoreofU Friday Conversation. I was just thinking about it. We're almost getting ready to come up on a year, an anniversary that we've been doing this. So we got to do something special, right, for our year anniversary. We thank you for joining us here today on the TheCoreofU Friday Conversation, Community of Restoration and Enlightenment. I'm Kenneth Page, and this is my beautiful and lovely wife, Bianca. And the conversation we want to have and talk to you about today. And feel free to chime in, give us some thoughts in the chat. If you have any questions, if you want to make a good point, something that we may not cover, feel free to chime in. But the conversation we wanted to have today, since we're coming up on Valentine's Day, and so many people will be dealing with love and Cupid's in the air and all that, nonsense and crazy stuff, right? We want to talk about turn-ons and turn-offs, really knowing your partner in a relationship.
Yes, because we want to talk about it in dating, and then we also want to talk about how you can be turned on and turned off even within an established relationship, because technically if you want to keep that flame going, you don't want to ever stop dating. You want to always keep it fresh. You want to keep it new, but as you change and as you grow, you might find new things out about yourself, your likes, your dislikes, that you need to communicate. First, you need to be self-aware, then you need to communicate to your significant other, because as you guys go through different seasons in your own personal development and your development together, it's going to bring about new subject matter and new content for you to address. And I'm so happy I could finally pull back out I Love My President shirt. I had to put this back after Barack's second term, but it should actually read I Love My President and my VP. Woo woo. Anyway, it's about to be, we can celebrate Black History Month right into Women's International Month. That's just me on my soapbox, y'all.
No doubt.
Thanks, Lee. We appreciate you.
I think it's important, but I mean, first, before we even get into that, as I was sitting there thinking about it, I think it's important that you know yourself.
Absolutely.
Because how fair is it, or I guess I should say maybe unfair, is it for you to come to a relationship and have an expectation, or I don't know, maybe you don't have an expectation, but don't really know what you want. Say, this is what I want in a woman, but you really don't know what you want, or this is what I want in a man, or this is what I want in a significant other.
Or you're not projecting your list of wants. And what I like to say is sometimes you may not know everything you want, but you sure should know what you don't want.
What you don't want. That's a great point. So a lot of times we don't always know all the things that we do want, that we do love, that we do like, but we certainly know the things that we don't. And I guess maybe sometimes you just start there. Yeah. These are things that are kind of be a deal breaker. So in dating, before you and I got together, or maybe even while we were together, what are some of your things that you don't like? What are some of your turn-offs?
Top of my list is lack of conversation. Lack of meaningful conversation, because I needed to always be mentally stimulated. Kind of that for me is where I really get my growth in a relationship or in a courtship phase.
Okay.
So I think that was really important, especially with us, because we had such a long season of long distance dating. Mm-hmm. And so if there was no conversation, there's no way the plane could even took off from us, But for me, mental stimulation is always key, and I always need to be able to kind of air out my thoughts and talk through things and explore new subjects. Lack of flexibility in learning new things or new experiences.
Okay.
Somebody that doesn't want to try anything with you, you always got to do it alone. Can't do new experiences. For me, that was a turnoff. I'll give you back the mic so we can kind of go back and forth. When you were in your dating phase, what were turnoffs to you?
Well, I love still to this day intelligence in a woman. I didn't know that at first though, Mm-hmm. At first when you're young, you just like, man, she look good, that's perfect. Ooh, look at that waist, look at them hips, look at them, look at them eyes, ooh, and
look at those yams.
Yeah, look at the yams, all that, and you're like, okay, cool. But then you start to, then they open their mouths, and you're like, oh Lord have mercy. And so that became a priority for me really, really fast. It was something that I didn't even know that shot to the top of my list. So I really loved intelligence. One of the things I didn't like, because I am such, I believe I probably have OCD with it, such a neat freak. I didn't like a dirty partner. I didn't like a partner. One of my girlfriend, whoever, if we were just kicking it around, like I liked, if I visited their home or apartment or whatever, and they visited me, my stuff was tight, it was clean. I like the woman to keep her stuff to.
Like leave a girl's house because her bathroom was too dirty?
Yeah, it was dirty. Yeah, I left. Yeah, I mean, she was like tight, fine, all that, but I left. No, when we got there, I'm like, I went in, I was like, let me use your restroom, and I left. And I told her later, I was respectful. I said, maybe it's something wrong with me. I was respectful, but I was honest.
Got it.
So that was one of the things. I mean, and then obviously for me, she had to have some spiritual grounding.
Was that always, or did that come later?
That was always. Because I was church. We grew up. Church was our life. So if you didn't do anything in church and didn't understand that, that was a problem.
So even like in your teens and your early 20s.
Yeah, it still had to be at some point in time we were going to talk about God, because that was everything I did.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a disconnect. Was it as important as it is now? No, obviously not. But it had to be somewhere in there, hidden somewhere in there. So that was, so those are some of the things.
And for me, that kind of came later, because I was like into the Roughnecks or into just the street guys, and then as I advanced in education, that wasn't attractive anymore. It was like, okay, you need to be about your business. Then spirituality started to come up. It's interesting as I raised my vibration, and because at first it was more about, I came from a church background and I went because that's what we did. But when I kind of sought for myself and I raised my spirituality for myself, then I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me like we can't ever pray together? We can't ever? Or I even actually ran into a couple dudes where they kind of were ridiculing me for my spiritual mindset and even my family closeness. Wow. So that was something that I began to look at and turn me off.
Well, now that's an interesting one, because that's one I think we need to go there for a second. Closeness with the family. I think there has to be some boundaries with that though, right? And what I mean is, you absolutely are super close with your family. I don't mind that at all, because your family doesn't bother me. They embrace me. They brought me in, and heck, I mean, when I had lost my parents and stuff like that. So to see your parents and to see your uncle and all, your grandmother and all them, I kind of adopted them as mine. So that was great. But I do believe, and I have been in relationships, have been around couples where the family, they put their opinions, and like when it's for me, like if I'm talking to you, like I know that you and your mom are a lot alike. I know that. So that goes without saying, right? So you're saying, but I'm saying, if I'm talking to you and I'm hearing your cousin or your sister or your grandmother, and I'm hearing more of them than you know what I mean?
Well,
that's scary.
So that could be a turnoff then.
That's a major turnoff.
Where you feel like not only are you dating the girl, but you're dating the whole family.
You're dating the whole family, right? You don't want to be dating the whole family.
I will say that even like in the beginning of our marriage, I had to be mindful of always being used to putting my mom and my sister first.
Okay.
And that was something. And then as a woman being independent, I remember I had to remember to check in before I make plans. Not in the sense that you would be like, no or yes, but more so like I would fill up my whole schedule and forget, wait a minute, I got somebody else I'm supposed to be checking with. Like,
you were still stuck in that independence mode.
Yeah, I was real solo bolo in that regard. I had to, that was something that like was in the melting together of our oneness and just our communion. Like, okay, and it's something I wanted to do because I wanted us to be doing stuff together, but I had to like change my MO and make it a part, like it had to become a part of who I was.
No doubt.
Because for so long I wasn't, and then we dated long distance for a long time.
So that could be a major turnoff if your significant other feels like they're not only dating you, but they start to feel like they're responsible not only to you but to your family too. Yeah. And it should never get that far. You know what I mean? Right. Obviously, I you want to respect everybody in the family. You want to make sure you go to some of the family gatherings, that you connect. And then, then you got to know your significant other. What if you're dating somebody that's just they're just like a recluse, they come out, their most, extroverted version of themselves is when they're with you alone. You know what I mean? That's their biggest, when they're out, when they're talking and doing that. Other than that, they're an introverted person. Maybe, but if that's who you're with and you're okay with that, then you should explain that to the family and make sure that they don't have expectations.
Right, they understand the boundaries, that you're cool with it. Like, this is us. You'll see me as long as he ain't preventing me. I like that. And I think we've talked about that before too, because there's a lot of instances where we're introverted, extroverted on different things.
Right.
And so we try to, but I will say, I think it's important to be intentional about going into each other's worlds. And that's true when you have children. You need to follow them into what they're doing, else you're going to lose touch. If they're doing activities and you're never a part of it, how can you stay connected? But with us, like, I've intentionally gone into your sports world and tried to be connected, at least a few times a year. Yeah. It's not really my thing. And then you'll go to me with some of my sorority events or things that, my law school stuff that really you could give it or take it. But I love that we can speak each other's language when we need to.
No doubt.
Because I know that's important.
And my cousin Margaret, hey cuz, she said communication is key. We talk about that all the time. That phrase, that terminology is we're probably going to say that at least once every core review, because it is, communication is so important. And I like to add effective communication, because a lot of times people communicate, but their means of communication is so ineffective, or it's tainted, or it comes from a place of just where it's not healthy. It's just unhealthy.
Oh my gosh, yes. And speaking of communication, y'all, look. If you haven't heard about it, our cousin Tasha put us up on this couples human design. She sent us to her business coach and gifted it to us for us to have a couples human design reading. It was so enlightening, and not only did it confirm things we knew about ourselves from a metaphysical, astrological, spiritual standpoint, but it gave us even more in-depth knowledge about one another and why we make certain moves, that it was kind of a great tool to help support our relationship and our connectivity. Like, we came away from it. It was like a 4-hour reading. It could be 2 to 2.5 hours. Ours ended up being 4. But I loved it, and it gave me info into him, like his why. Like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. They really go back and kind of look at, take your sign and get into the astrological part and the spiritual part of who you are and why you kind of operate. And she was spot on with everything.
Shout out to Coach Camille at The Intentional Goddess, www.theintentionalgoddess.com.
Theintentionalgoddess.com.
Right, or .org. I don't know. Look it up, though.
Yeah, she was excellent what she did for us. And tell her if you guys go and do it, tell her that Kenneth and Bianca from TheCoreofU sent you. Tell her.
Yes, look into it. You can do it from anywhere remote. It was powerful. And it gave us more tools, but all that to say, we realized that one of the things, because this is about turnoffs, so now we're coming into the marriage, and one of the things that can irk us about one another is his procrastination and my time management, like me being a worker bee. Mm-hmm. And that reading explains some of those behaviors, and we walked away like, oh, babe, that's like who you are. And for our single core members, you can do an individual human design reading, because like we always talk about, know yourself first before you get into a relationship. So what was powerful is that it wasn't necessarily that it was intertwined. It was that two people getting a reading together.
Yeah.
So you can do an individual human design reading. We absolutely recommend.
No, great point. It actually was an individual. It wasn't a couples. It wasn't a couples reading. It actually was an individual reading that we just did together.
Right.
While we were in each other's space, and it was amazing because it opened up all these things. But like you said, things that we talk about. So that's what we're talking about. If you're just joining today, you're talking about turn-ons, turn-offs, and before your relationship and when you're in it. And just knowing you, knowing what you like, knowing what you don't like. If you don't know everything that you want in a relationship, it's important that you know what you don't want. One of the things for me, this is crazy. One of the things for me, when I was growing up that I didn't like, I didn't date women with children. And I don't have anything against children. That was just something that I didn't do. Because I saw some things and most of the things we make these choices based on either experience or things we witnessed. This was one of the things I witnessed. I saw it become a problem. I saw, women and then the children, they had to deal, and then the new guy had to deal with the children's father, or, the new girl had to deal with the children's mother. It was just it was too much. It was too much for me. And so I didn't do that. And then I messed around and got in a relationship with a very nice person. And she had 2 children, and it became a problem. But
you might have drew what you feared to you.
What I feared to me,
because obviously, as being a byproduct of a single mom, like for me, I'm glad that a wonderful step-up father came into my life.
And what if he'd have had the attitude that I had, then he wouldn't have known his blessings. You're right. No, yeah, you're right.
Well, and I'll say just for part of my life, I had, my dad in my life for a long time. My parents were married for over a decade. But I'm just saying for the part that they did separate.
No, absolutely. I mean, but that was for me. And check it out. And now I'm with a woman who had 2 children.
What you mean?
You have my children.
You right.
So,
right.
So all that.
We all be having some children sometimes. Godchildren, other people that's our babies.
But I stood firm on that. I stood firm on what I wanted and what I didn't want.
Yeah, I mean that's a preference versus a turn on.
And I absolutely, I like that.
You would have done a disservice if you got into a relationship with somebody already knowing that, and then you didn't show up as your full self.
Absolutely.
But I think those are the kind of conversations we have to know so we don't lead people on. Right. Like for me, in the beginning, I think I was very clear that I was concerned that we were long distance. And I think you had the concerns too. Yeah, so it was definitely not a preference, but we would have missed out on our blessing if it had been a hard line rule. So if you have preferences, I hope that sometimes when there's a light that's so bright in somebody that you can be a little flexible. I mean, don't have your standards, hold to what you know about yourself, but I would have missed out on you and almost did. And I also said I never wanted to marry somebody that had been in law enforcement or ever in the church, too involved in the church. And you marked off both of those, but we had so much. I got to see you for who you were, so I'm glad I didn't let that hard line or that preference stop me from getting to know you.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we were both on that because there were things that I thought that I didn't know. Long distance was something that I had never done.
Yeah, you don't even like talking on the phone.
I didn't really like talking on the phone much, but
you did.
But that was part of, I think, what drew us is that here you were somebody that I was talking on the phone with for long periods of time. So it's like, wait a minute, this is not me. So. And I'm comfortable with doing it, and it wasn't forced, so I did it. So you got to just know you got to learn what you love. You got to learn what you don't like. And I like what B said. I like that. There are certain things that's not necessarily a turn off or a turn on. It's just preference. What is your preference? And I think it's so important that we know that, and we're talking about this because we're getting ready to go into the Valentine's Day weekend. Love is in the air.
We don't celebrate. We don't celebrate. We don't celebrate that day from other days because we say any day is a good day for me to celebrate you.
No doubt.
And I love that, Ken. I'll come home on a random Tuesday and there'll be some flowers or a random gift, and I try to shower him too. You're much better at that than me. I don't know. I need to up my game. Because men like to be romanced too.
No doubt. Men definitely like to be romanced. Definitely. And then the other thing that we did was the human design. And we also did, what was the thing that we did with Victoria?
Oh, we did a chart reading with Victoria.
A chart reading. So we've been doing these exercises where we've been learning more about ourselves, the who we are, the what's, the whens, the where's, the whys. And we've been bringing it together, and we've been talking about it and reading these charts and going over all these explanations to learn more about one another. You're never too old. It's never too late. It's never too, you're never too past a point where you can't learn more about yourself or your significant other. It's very, very important. And there are things that will happen. I can guarantee, and I'm not in everybody's homes because I know it has happened to us. There have been some things during this pandemic that we knew, that we've learned about one another that we didn't know before. First of all, when you get in a situation like that, you don't necessarily know. You believe, you hope, you feel that that person is going to stick around. But I've heard of some scenarios where people just were like, I can't do this. I'm out. And people were like, the rug was pulled up from underneath me. How could this person who I spent all this time with just walk away?
Like leave you in sickness.
Just leave you. Yeah, whatever. I mean, so you never know. So during these times, it's always good to re-up, go back, and just learn a little more about self.
Read a book together, do something for personal development, right?
No doubt.
Oh, and because you talked about the chart reading, that was with Victoria Jokowitz at sacredsoulvision.com. That was powerful. If you just want to get a chart reading versus going deeper into human design, that was powerful too. But they actually complement each other. So I would recommend both.
Yeah, do both of them, definitely. I mean, and it's online, so you don't have to be in nobody's home. You can do it right on Zoom. It's perfect. Just learning more about yourself. And that's really what we wanted to talk about today. Just learning more about you and your significant other, the things that turn you on, the things that turn you off, your preference in relationship. You should have a preference for friendships.
Yeah, and you got to be able to do that on the spot. Like, there might be something you're doing while you're being intimate, and you might be like, ooh, I like that. Do more of it. Or, you know what? I did not like that. And you got to be able to talk about that stuff, because not that it's a turn off, so to speak, but it could become an aversion if you just hold that stuff in.
Yeah.
Or, whatever it might be. Don't always wake me up with loud music or whatever it is. You got to be able to talk about it. And people, we can't be sensitive in our relationships. We got to be like, okay, it's not, the rule should be like, you can say anything if you say it in love.
No doubt. No doubt.
Not disrespect.
And we've had those, sometimes those conversations are difficult too. Sometimes those conversations are real difficult because you're kind of walking lightly. You don't want to step on that person's toes. But like you said, if it's done in love and if it's received in love, even if it's just received in respect and done in respect, everything should be okay. Because you can say, listen, I need you to know this about me, that I didn't like what you did the other day. You know, the way you snapped back at me, the way you did it. So that was one of the things for me. It wasn't a preference. It was a turnoff. Like, I did not like women. I won't say that I didn't like women who cursed. I'm not going to say that. But just like every other word out of their mouth was a potty mouth. And I wasn't around men that were like that really either. So you know what I mean? But I'm talking about to be like a woman that just kind of talked just loud and just abrasive and just all on your face and just all over it. I didn't like that. That was a turn off for me. And when I saw that, and lo and behold, I mess around. Did I pull that into me too? Because I went on a blind date with somebody like that one time. Oh my Lord. My boy, Chris, I know he's out there in Facebook world somewhere. Chris and his girls at the time set me up on a blind date, and it was the worst date ever. This girl done some ghetto things that I had never seen somebody do in my life, just screaming and yelling. And
oh my Lord.
She met some friends in the parking lot of a movie theater that we was going to a movie for, and they were just screaming at decimals I didn't even think was possible for people, and it was just bad. That was the blind date that was really, really bad, right? So, it is what it is. That was not a preference. That was definitely for me a turnoff. Okay. And it took my whole night, and I was just done. Like
you were like, I can't pop back. I can't bounce back from this.
Yeah, I was done. I mean, and then here you are, somebody that's a little more soft spoken, and you get animated when you get animated, but it's in fun and it's in love, and I'm okay with it. And I just love. I don't like to. I just feel like, we don't always have to be loud and cursing and all, just all verbally and all in your face to get our point across. You can. Yeah. There's a cool way to do things, I think, in life too.
Absolutely.
So that was one of the things for me, and so just knowing that, man, just knowing it's not all about us today, just you, CoreofU fam, knowing the turn-ons and turn-offs of your significant other or your friendship.
So a question, people should ask that, right? I mean, you should talk about that, and don't just. You should talk about that.
You shouldn't tiptoe around it. Right. I think it definitely needs to be a conversation.
I would recommend that people, if you're in the dating phase, talk about what are your turn-ons and turn-offs.
Just ask, right, huh?
Yeah,
what's some of your turn-ons? What's some of your turn-offs?
Right, and then as you continue, and what we're trying to encourage you to do is that even in your marriage and in your relationship, don't take for granted that you just know it all and stop learning. When you're doing your quarterly or your anniversary check-ins or however you guys decide to do it, that should be one of the things. And hopefully you're telling somebody on the spot if they're doing something really good that you want more of, or if they're doing something that, I would prefer you not do that again. We're just encouraging both of those behaviors.
No doubt. Love it. So we hope that, Danita, cigarettes. Oh yeah, I'm with you. I never dated a woman that smoked cigarettes. I didn't.
And is it fair to say you can tell somebody like I would love it. I mean, I might consider dating you if you didn't have that habit. Like, what do you think? I think that's fair game, right?
I told somebody that before, and we ended up not dating. But she did quit smoking and thanked me because it was the best thing she said she ever done.
Wow, see, so your honesty helped her up level. Yeah, it was out of respect,
and
right?
I told her, I said, listen, we were cool though. I said, listen, you are a beautiful woman. I just feel like for me, you would be even more beautiful if you didn't smoke those cigarettes. Not that I have anything wrong with people that smoke cigarettes, because I'm sure somebody on here smokes cigarettes. That's your preference. Do what you do. That's you. If that gives you peace, do it. I was talking to her because we were considering going to that next level. We did it, but she stopped. But she loved it because she started running and it was more healthy for her and everything. So yeah, it was cool. So it wasn't even hard. It was no hard feelings on that. Yeah, but definitely those things are.
And if you're on the opposite side of the one that's something you do as a turnoff to somebody else, and you can't sincerely stop doing it, that's something to be honest about. Like, this is something that brings me peace or something I enjoy. So that way you guys cannot spin your wheels too long.
No doubt. Love it. So listen, we hope that you had enjoyed this conversation today. We always thank you for joining us on our Fridays for these CoreofU Friday conversations. We love the chats. We see all of you that are chiming in and just hitting like. Make sure you share if you really enjoyed the conversation. The CoreofU, CORE of the letter U, stands for Community of Restoration and Enlightenment.
We love you too.
We love you guys.
And that's our website, IG, Facebook, YouTube.
And YouTube. So, as always, we leave you with hoping and praying that you have peace in your heart and in your homes. Peace.